This video covers material about the three-dimensional structure of the cell and the types of cells classified and recognized by biologists. The material presented was originally developed by Nathan Andre and modified and narrated by Alan Rodriguez. This video is made possible by the National Science Foundation funded project Oath of Knowledge in the Science Classroom at Ohio University. Now, do you know how many different types of cells are? Or do you know how many cells are in your body? In other words, how many cells are you composed of? Or perhaps another important question, do you know if the cell has a three-dimensional or two-dimensional structure? If you answer no to any of these questions, or even if you feel you should review this, then I invite you to study with me the topic titled Cells are 3D. Did you know? Before entering into dimensional structure details, let's review together some basic concepts about cells. Now, there are two main classifications of cells, prokaryotes and eukaryotes. Do you know what they are? Perhaps an example of a type of cell corresponding to that group? Well, let's first talk about prokaryotes. A good example of a prokaryote is a bacteria. Prokaryotes are distinguished for being cells with no nucleus and no major organelles, among other more detailed characteristics. The picture on the right is a 3D picture of a group of bacteria. Let's now briefly discuss eukaryotes. So, eukaryotes are more complex cells that are further divided into two sub-main groups, animal cells and plant cells. As opposed to prokaryotes, which is said were the first existent cells in the planet, eukaryotes do have a nucleus and thus have major organelles such as the mitochondria, whose role is to produce useful energy for the cell to utilize. So this is a very general picture of how cells are classified. It's important to mention that although all bacteria are prokaryotes, not all prokaryotes are bacteria. There are other organisms belonging to this group named archaea. It's time for us to discuss the main goal of this presentation. Cells are 3D. Cells are three-dimensional, as you probably figured out from the previous presented cell pictures. If you thought that cells were 2D, don't feel bad. A big percentage of the people think this way, mainly because in the science books and school classes, cells are viewed and shown in 2 dimensions. Furthermore, when we start seeing them through a regular microscope, they look in 2 dimensions as well. There are very advanced microscopes, such as a confocal laser scanning microscope, which actually allows scientists to see the cells in their 3D arrangement. Besides discussing that cells are three-dimensional, it was within the scope of the original lesson plan to give you the opportunity to create a 3D model of an animal cell. I invite you to do this with your science teacher or at your home, and while doing it and molding the different inner organelles, please go over the function of each organelle and its importance. Your final animal cell model should look like the one I'm showing you here. At the beginning of the video, we ask ourselves the question of how many cells are in the body. Do you know the answer? Well, let me tell you. An adult has approximately that amount of cells. Enough?